iBoss Inc. Capital Academy, lighting your way to capital solutions.
Welcome back to Capital Academy. At Capital Academy, we'd like to expand the conversation with entrepreneurs that are seeking to raise capital to engage with investors and other industry professionals that support what it is that they do. And so with Capital Academy, we like to broaden that conversation to help other entrepreneurs understand a lot that goes on in this space of starting, building, growing, developing businesses. And today, this is a pretty exciting segment that we have two entrepreneurs on one show that both are raising capital. They're both in what could be considered the same space, but they come at it from different perspectives. So Travis, thank you so much for joining us. And Glenn, thank you also.
My pleasure.
And let me start by asking each of you to frame who you are and what it is that you do. And Glenn, since it's your house, I'm going to ask Travis to start.
Sounds good. So I'm Travis Smith. I'm the founder of ACT Boom, which is a 24/7 digital television network.
Thank you.
Boy, you couldn't make it more simple than that, right?
ACT Boom,
ACT
Television
Boom.
Network. Glenn.
And I am the founder of Village Connector Media, an internet television and radio network devoted specifically to self-education, personal development, health and wellness, and professional development.
So thank you so much, guys. Opening this up, I again wanted us to talk about strategic alliances and how companies think about and consider it. And I thought it was just significant to have this conversation with the two of you because you're in a similar space, but I think other entrepreneurs can take away a lot of value from understanding what some thought processes could be in considering strategic alliances as opposed to feeling that they're always in competition with each other. Okay? So I'm throwing that out there, and either one of you please start in talking about what do you look for, if you specifically look for it, but what do you look for when you're considering someone as a strategic partner?
You want to take that one?
I mean, I think the big piece really becomes down to complement. You know, and what, because in every even organization that do the exact same thing, there's always what you perceive you're doing the same thing. There's always some areas where there's the whole SWOT analysis that either you're better at and we're better at.
Help our audience understand
So
SWOT.
that SWOT is the strength, weaknesses, outcomes, opportunities, and threats. So the hope would be that, you know, if the company is the exact same thing, restaurants example, burger and burger, so something has cheese, one may have ketchup. You know, so what is the market looking for? What is the value with it? And then that creates that complement because, you know, there's always something that either you may have to have staffing or resources. That could benefit you to kind of lean on someone who is in the same space, because you don't have to worry about expending that revenue in order to accomplish the goal for your customer base. So really I think that's one major piece is what is the complement of the two. And then now you're doing, as an alliance, you're doing some type of share of numbers to now generate the revenue for both of you, rather than worrying about going on as individuals and spending budget that you both may not have. And even if you do have it, who wants to spend money you don't need to spend? The whole goal is to generate more revenue. So I think that's probably one major key element that I would kind of throw out there is the complement. What's the complement between the two?
Right.
And I think to build on that, I think another way to express what Travis just said, and I agree with everything he said, is I would be looking for a relationship where the sum of the whole would be greater than the individual parts. You know, you have to find people that advance the mission that you originally had, unless you're willing to modify your mission. But more importantly, I mean, I would normally be looking for a partner that was able to accelerate the pace at which we could accomplish what we already set out to do. That would always be a great relationship. Or someone that has something that they're doing that enhances what we already had to do, but it's not exactly the same. I look at what Travis is doing, and he's got a 24/7 internet television channel. And as I understand it, most of that content is there for people to come and view more like a Netflix or like your regular TV. You go, you turn it on. We're on our side live streaming, so we're taking it to where people are and putting it right in front of them at the time it's happening. And it's a specialized subject matter. It's not entertainment necessarily just for the sake of entertainment. It's education. Now, I know you have education programs too. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is that we've got a slightly different format. So there could be a great opportunity for an alliance if the format and the way the delivery mechanism was different, and especially if it provided even an opportunity to share and air more content.
Right.
You know, if you've got shows that people are paying to advertise on, the more views you get, the more likely they are to stick with that advertisement. And the same is true on our side as well.
Yeah. And again, like if you use just ours, you know, in that same space where we're in, you know, there's the live streaming, there's the programming, there's the pay-per-view, but then a lot of it comes down to that shared piece that I've kind of looked at as, well, what about the monetization of it, end of it? Because then, you know, there's one thing to share for all we work on, but then how do we now use the revenue that can be generated to benefit both of us? Because in that case, we're actually doing a true case. Because in that case, there is that added value, because there's a client base in our end, there's a client base that's already there, that's established in a footprint, that's working well, that's dealt towards a target audience. And then, you know, in the other case, here's this capability of converting followers to dollars that in our standard cases of a YouTube or Netflix or Hulu, we may not have access to get to those dollars. But in this case, if we're diverting some traffic, then we can actually generate revenue off of that. So we have the classic case of how you can actually pull together and say, okay, this is what works, this doesn't work, let's do this and bridge the gap. Yeah.
You know, and in just talking about strategic alliances, I just want to pull back for a moment just to make sure I draw sort of that parallel, that isn't it interesting how the internet is giving both of you an opportunity to push out what you're doing independently that previously you wouldn't have been able to do, especially not in an affordable way.
And that's, I think, one of the most important things for entrepreneurs to understand, is that the internet truly is a game changer on so many levels. It's just a matter of whether they'll allow it to be that way in their business. I look at network television. Fox News would never think about sharing content with Channel 7.
Right.
But in our world, you know, where we're sharing, you know, we're in a world where everything is about engagement and sharing and crowdsourcing, et cetera. It's a perfect environment for content to be shared, for audience to be shared, and 2, 3, 4 entities that otherwise would never reach the size of a Fox News or a CNN or an MSNBC now have the ability to get there without incurring all the overhead necessary to do it.
It's a humongous space.
Yeah.
And driven really by 2 major attributes: technology and millennials.
That's right.
I mean, it's really, you know, because the technology automatically creates a behavior of they call it open data initially. Open sharing and sourcing, you know, shareware at one point along the way. And now we're at the ultimate space of that, but because there's this generation that's driving it, it makes it a great opportunity for anyone who's looking to really develop, create, share, educate, teach, whatever your goal is, you can accomplish it. It's just a matter of knowing what it is and then how you're going to get there. And then the revenue from savings and studio costs, the setup and equipment, and you know, that a whole nother level. Even for us, we can take our smartphone and broadcast your whole show right to the channel. Put your light kit up, and you're on. You know, and for the standard user, the average, they won't know any difference. So we're truly in a different space. It's a great space for those who are really looking to get into this line of business of it. And is there a lot of information? Yes. Yeah. Information overload, you know. So for guys like us, we're trying to parse as to, well, what part do you talk about without losing someone on the journey that you've been on that everyone else has no idea? Or so that's the caveat. But the beauty of it is the opportunity is really humongous.
You know, I've never heard anyone complain about there were too many choices on the buffet. You know, but think about this also. If you look at the behavior of network television, somebody comes out with a reality show, and the next channel comes out with one that looks just like it. you know, just slightly different, you know, whatever. You know, I think, I'm not going to mention any, but there were these 2 shows relating to pawn shops. You know,
Yeah, I know what you're talking
they had their own spin, but it was
Yeah.
it was a pawn shop related show, just, you know, food for thought. If you were collaborative rather than competitive, those resources could have been put into something that you could have jointly developed, or
Right.
you could have focused on something else while somebody else focused on this, and you wouldn't both be. It's kind of like watching. I don't want to get into politics here, but it's kind of like watching the nuclear arms race. You know, we're all racing to beat the other guy to the next greatest thing, instead of looking at ways we can collaborate. And obviously, you can't collaborate necessarily
you
in
do the
warfare,
missiles,
but
you do the trucks. You do
exactly, that's not going to happen. But that's why, you know, we can't look at that model. We can't look at the network television model and think that that should be replicated in the new media era. You know, we really have to be looking at where is the natural opportunity here. And for me, the natural opportunity is staying in your own lane and collaborating with other people so that you bring a variety of content together where everyone doesn't have to reinvent the wheel at all levels.
I think a huge part for you is you have a very well-defined niche, number one, and number two, it's one of the biggest niches out there.
Right.
You know, this whole self-help space, not only from the side of the consumers, but for the producers.
Sure.
So I think that's just a huge.
It's $11 billion a year market. And again, you know, we made a conscious decision not to create content all over the place. You know, we wanted to be focused specifically on this because we want to become known as essentially the personal development channel. You know, and that's where we are.
Right.
Now we can take that personal development channel and we can plug that into anybody else that's got a network or a channel, whatever you want to call it, and fill a gap that might exist
Right.
for them, or at least supplement
Right.
what they have if they have educational content.
Watch how I bridge the gap. And for you,
We might have to cut the cameras off and cut a deal in a minute, right?
and on your side, I felt the significant part was those of us with these huge egos, right, that want to have our own channel.
Well, I won't say egos.
Come on. I have a channel.
Some people call it the peacock.
Okay, I like
You know,
that.
a lot of times you're entertainers. You're based on who you work with. Your target
Right.
audience. You know, your artists. They're used to larger audiences. You have something that's valued by
Right.
a mass amount
Right.
of people. So that automatically makes me appreciated by a great group.
Yeah.
And for those
so-
for that person, yes.
Yeah, and I don't
Yeah.
mean ego by way of it being
I'm
a
with you.
negative
But-
side, right?
But there are those that may be watching that feels like ego. Like I don't have, because that's a tough
It's
tough
a
word
tough
for a lot of
word.
people.
Right.
Some people are okay with it, like yourself.
Right.
Others are like,
I don't
you already
have
talked about me, I know ego. So
But the
it creates a
point
battle.
is, you get to have your own channel.
Your own channel. Yep.
And on that channel, you can focus on what you do
what
and
it
how
is,
you
yep.
do. And that's where I see a significant bridge. The content, you know, and everybody needs content, right? You both have figured out how to pull content in from various places and to have it and then have a platform that it can go out on. But again, for me, in this age of technology, the internet becoming the place that all of that can wind up happening on.
Because there was a lot of stuff that was locked down. You know, when you're with your network television, a lot of things was predicated on Nielsen reports. You know, and then, well, if I'm dealing with Nielsen, then I'm dealing with the dollars in order to have access to it. So that alone,
not
that
your dollars.
knocks a lot of people out.
Right.
And I can get access, but I have to pay
Right.
to get that access. You know, so those were some of the limitations of it. And then having to shop and pitch my show and my content with hopes that as I compete against this big audience of producers across the world at a film festival, that my show or film or maybe picked up.
Right.
You know, it's like a needle in the, like a needle in this.
Exactly.
Right.
So now, you know, we're looking at the other end of it, where now that producer, that content creator, now have the access to put their content up in a channel format, or now where they have to actually own their own because they run a production company.
Right.
And that there's a major, that's the major thing is, like you said, tying into the branding and the naming of it. And that's where we have about 45 organizations or individuals now that really are they have the content like
Right.
yourself and many
Right.
others. We have guys who've done stuff for ABC and Bounce and NBC, et cetera. They have content. It's just a matter of now I have a place where I can have this content live. Not just live,
Right.
but actually monetize it through regular commercial breaks. The things that we are already prone and used to. And if I'm not doing commercial breaks like we're doing in some of ours, we're doing a lot of ad placement. We call them ad investments.
Right.
That way now you're talking about the content, like this is a laptop by Surface. You know, so
Right.
and that we just did that advertisement. So if the show has 100,000 views on it, then that creates the opportunity for that advertiser now to
Right.
fund those shows. Nothing new from that side of it because it's done for network television. The difference is the audience is so much bigger.
Right.
Because we're doing a global pool.
Well, a big part of that is this. I wrote a book called Let's Not Be Partners, which was designed to help people to understand how to go into business with the right people for the right reasons. And you just identified, both of you in this discussion just identified one of the most important things, which is to know what it is that you see and what the other person brings to the table that would be on your shopping list.
Right.
Because a lot of times we get together with people because they're friends or because they're nice
Family.
people. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And there's really nothing that was on our shopping list that they have, do, or are capable of doing that makes our business stronger.
Right.
But like I said, when you start to sit down and really peel the onion back and see where is what this company we're looking to align ourselves with, what are they doing that helps us to enhance what we'd like, what we're doing or what we'd like to be doing. The second thing is that if you mentioned about, now I'm drawing a blank here because I've talked too long. That's what happens. You get old and you talk too long and you forget where you were.
See,
But
you have to use my word. Team calls me OG. So they say, well, that's what happens to you, OG. I said, okay.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on. But, but again, this whole, and bringing it back to where we started the conversation, this whole part about strategic alliances, coming together, learning to do business together, that's really just the nature of figuring out, as you were just doing, figuring out who am I, what do I need, and what can I offer someone else? A lot of people, when they're thinking about working with someone, they're oftentimes thinking about what they can get. But part of that equation has to be about what can I give.
What do you bring to the table?
Exactly. That's what then makes it, it takes it out of the realm of the competitiveness and sets you up to be able to work together for the benefit of the both, and most of the time in the most cost-effective fashion.
It's that conversation.
It's that conversation.
So I see TV networks in the future, and the future is now, being a collaboration amongst multiple content producers that are aggregating and consolidating their content and working together to develop an audience for it, rather than having an enterprise level business like a traditional TV channel that's trying to be all things to all people for its own benefit. And that's where I see, there's other people like Travis and like me out here. They just haven't had a conversation jointly
Right.
with the intention of working together.
Right.
And a lot of the enterprise ones now are actually already looking at and seeking. They're running ads. They're basically saying they're looking for this type of. So they're clear on a strategy, which is basically if you're creating all this content, then we'll strike a deal with you to bring
Yeah.
the content to our major network. So
And that's so true.
that's
They're
happening
looking
readily
for
right
content.
now. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So which is a good thing
Yeah.
for those that are creating content or putting the channel together in this case, because then it puts you have a product now
Right.
that someone can actually tie into if your goal is to sell or what it may be about the product itself.
And that takes me back to the thing I forgot, which was this. I talked with a publisher a few years back. They were trying to encourage me to write a book with them. And the guy told me, he was trying to give me incentive. He's like, we get 2,000 or 3,000 manuscripts a year and we pick 30. I'd like for yours to be one of those 30. And I actually turned him down. But what he was really saying is that there were 2,770 transcripts or manuscripts
Right.
that could have been worthy
Right.
that they weren't interested in. And that's why all these content producers are just creating greater opportunity for
Right.
more and more people to get access to more and more information.
Right.
And the bottom line is, when it's organized well and presented
Yes.
in a format that's easy for them to get access to, it's a beautiful thing. And we have the ability to do that right now without having to get anyone's permission.
There you go.
That's,
I
that's
love
the,
that.
That's the major piece.
I love
major
that.
piece.
As we are coming to a close on this segment, Travis, any thoughts, ideas, questions, comments you want to put out there?
No, I think, for us and the other content contributors, creators, et cetera, there's several thousand out there, decide where you are. Are you a creator? Are you a business guy? Are you a producer? What's your role? And once you know your role, then you can actually know whether you need to tie into one of us, or, because everything is not for everybody.
Right.
And because if you don't know the strategy that lies behind it, then you just picked up another venture that's gonna turn upside down on your belly up. So the hope will be that, we can all glean from each other because there's plenty of room for plenty of opportunity.
I love that. Glenn?
I would say that in today's entrepreneurial environment, you need to shift your mindset from treating the C word as being competition and convert that into collaboration.
That. Very cool. Thank you guys so much.
My pleasure.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for being on the show. Thank you so much, Travis. And thank you for joining us for this episode of Capital Academy. If you've heard anything here that you've really enjoyed, I would like to think you'll share it with someone else. And if you want to see other segments that we've done and information that's provided throughout our ecosystem, please join us on iBossIncTV.net. Until next time.
If you have a pressing question, log on to iBossInc.net and click Send Voicemail. We'll look forward to hearing from you.